Hi, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I'm Renee Stevens.
And I'm Carolyn Stevens, and tonight we're going to talk about what happened on the night of April 12th, 2007 at Todd and Amy's house, and in the next few days after. So, on the night of April 12th, 2007, we had a Sears window representative here, and he was giving us a presentation.
At our house.
At our house. We cooked dinner. We were just taking care of the kids. Qadira had gone to spend the night at Todd and Amy's house with her little friend Sophie. And I put the kids to bed. But Kamaya woke up around maybe 9:45. Yeah, she was very frantic. She was only 4 years old. She was screaming and crying. And she told me that I needed to call Qadira.
She said something was wrong with Qadira.
Yeah, she said something was wrong with Qadira. And I told her, no, Qadira's fine. She's spending the night at a friend's house. And Kamaya became hysterical at this point. The other kids woke up. So Caden was 2, Kimani was 6, Kamaya was 4, and Qadira was 8 at the time. And like I said, Kamaya became hysterical. She started screaming and crying. She said, no, 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 Mommy, you have to call Qadira. She just insisted. And so at that point,
we were like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll just call her and to show you that she's fine.
Right. And so I called because I thought they could put Qadira on the phone and she could talk to her sister and calm her sister down. And that is when I learned that Qadira had been burned. So Amy picked up the phone and she said to me, did you get my message?
Hi, this is Amy. I need you guys to call me. Qadira got a burn, and she's okay, but there is a little blistering, and I think she wants to go home. In fact, I know she wants to go home. So could you just give us a call? I need to talk to you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
And I said no. And she said, Qadira got a burn. And I said, do I need to come? And she said, yes. And at this point, I was thinking she's talking about like a little burn on her finger, like from baking cookies.
Or something like that.
Something like that. I had no idea what I was going to be walking into. Renee did not come with me.
Well, I had to stay and watch the other kids.
Yeah, he was staying and watching the other kids. So I went by myself over there, which they only live basically 3 blocks away. And when I arrived to the house, it was dark. I went up to the door. I knocked on the door. Amy opened the door. It was dark inside the house. But I could tell her face was really flushed and red. And I can't remember what she said, but she led me down a dark hallway, down a dark flight of stairs into their basement, and that is where I found Qadira, or saw Qadira, wrapped in a towel on her couch. She was naked, and she had a big burn on her leg, and they had put on Lilo and Stitch, so I remember that. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, when I saw her, I said, oh my God, why are you naked? Like, that's what I was thinking. I might have said that out loud. And I just remember Todd was like bringing me this bag of peas, and he was saying, oh, I should just put some aloe vera on it and put a bag of peas on it. But Qadira could not walk. She could not stand. And I didn't really ask them what happened at the time. I asked her. I said, oh my God, what happened? And I can't really remember what she said at this time. But I just remember Todd shaking this bag of peas at me. And me I just said, we have food at home. I remember saying that to him. And then I said that I was going to leave. And I think I did say accidents happen, and because I just wanted to get out of there. I didn't know what happened. So I picked her up and I carried her up the stairs and I put her in the car and I left. And I went home. Nobody at that point had said I need to go to the hospital. Neither definitely Todd or Amy didn't say that. And so I brought her home because I wanted Renee to look at what had happened. I wasn't sure what to do, and so I brought her in the house and I set her on the couch, and then
I looked at her leg, and I remember saying to myself, no, I actually said this out loud. I said, what is that? Because it was so, I mean, it was completely, like the skin was burned off her leg. And it already started blistering, and I just didn't understand. I think right at that point I was completely traumatized. Corellin, she called her. We didn't know what to do at that point.
Yeah, so I called my mom.
Corellin called her mom.
So I called my mom because I reached out for advice, and I called my mom and I started screaming and crying in the phone, and I said, Mom, oh my gosh, Qadira has a burn, and I didn't know what to do. And at that point, my mom told me to take her to the hospital. And so I asked my mom if she could come over because we had the other kids there, and we needed
the kids.
Yeah. So
and this is how traumatized we were, because her mom couldn't come right away because she lived in Tigard. But we wanted to leave as soon as possible, so we actually called Todd and Amy to come and watch the rest of our kids. That's how traumatized we were.
Right, and that's how much we just wanted to leave to the hospital because Qadira kind of started shaking.
So Todd showed up.
Yeah.
And we left to the hospital.
And my mom was on her way at that point, but
I think at that point it wasn't very long that Todd was there at our house with our kids.
It was maybe like 10 minutes, and we did put them to bed, so they were in bed, but it's not like I really wanted him there. And when he showed up, he just said if it was my kid, I'd put some aloe vera on it. He didn't understand why we were going to the hospital. And although I think we both felt really upset and angry at him at the time, we didn't have time to talk to him about that.
Not at all.
So we went to the hospital, and we decided to go to Providence, St. Vincent's.
Because that was the closest that I could think of.
Right. And then so we put Qadira in the back. We couldn't put a seatbelt on her or anything. We just had to.
Corellin drove. I sat back in the back with her.
Right. And so when we got to the hospital, she was immediately rushed back to just back into a room.
This is all kind of blurry for me. I think I remember filling out some paperwork.
See, now I remember, it's interesting because I don't remember filling out paperwork, but I remember being kept at the front, and a nurse by the name of Julie Andrews.
No, that's the doctor.
Oh, the doctor. Not the nurse, but the doctor. She, Dr. Julie Andrews, yeah. She asked me I do remember her asking me if Qadira had been abused, and I remember telling her that I don't know what those people were doing, and I just remember my heart pounding really hard in my chest, and just I wanted to get to my daughter. I wanted to make sure she was okay, and it seemed like an eternity, but obviously the visit was only 17 minutes, as the paperwork shows. So she did let me go back there, and when I got back to the room, Qadira was crying and just red-faced and puffy, and I remember a nurse coming in, a male nurse coming in, gave her a big vial of, on the paperwork it says it was Motrin, so I guess it was just Motrin, and they wrapped up her leg. They didn't give her any IV fluids, they didn't take her blood pressure, they didn't do any of that.
She wasn't hospitalized.
She wasn't hospitalized. They just, they did that, and then they just picked her up off the bed and put her in Renee's arms and told us to go home and discharged us immediately. So,
they gave us a little set of instructions.
It wasn't really instructions. The instructions were basically to come back if it got any worse.
And then to follow up with a regular doctor the next day.
Right. So, The next day, when we got up in the morning, Renee got up early. He had just buried his father on, it was March 20th, right? So we had just buried his father on March 20th. And we had just pretty much gotten back from the funeral. He had taken a couple weeks off because we had to travel down to Sacramento. And so he was pretty worried at this point about, he needed to get back to work as well. So he got up really early and he called for their homeowners insurance because, excuse you, I definitely needed to take Qadira back in. I didn't have any supplies. I didn't have any bandages. I had nothing at this point. And she was bandaged from mid-thigh to ankle, basically.
When I called for the homeowner's insurance, Todd didn't want to give it to me. And I was like, she was hurt over there. Yeah, we definitely need your homeowner's insurance. So, because how else are we going to pay for the,
whatever incoming bills.
Because I had been in accidents before, so I knew how this kind of thing went a little bit. And it did turn out that at the time, my insurance did not cover the hospital visit, so we did need his homeowner's insurance. But
so he did call for the homeowner's insurance, and they didn't seem very happy about that. And I did take Qadira back to the doctor that day, except for instead of taking her to Providence St. Vincent's, I took her to OHSU, and we saw Dr. Sarah Tubenstein, and several other doctors came in the room and kind of looked at Qadira's leg, and then they just unwrapped it, looked at it, said it was fine, and wrapped it back up and handed her back to me. I had to carry her back out to my car. Nobody offered me a wheelchair or any other kind of help. They just said to go to the medical store and get bandages and Sylvanine, and to take care of the burn at our house all by herself.
Yeah, we were supposed to do 3 times daily wound care.
Yeah, so that was what we were told, and that's what's in the paperwork.
And we had no reason not to trust the doctors. I mean, at that point we had seen several, so it was like a second, third, and fourth opinion at that point. So, and we did start doing the bandage changes, but they were really horrible. And Qadira was in a lot of pain because the only thing she had was Motrin. They did prescribe Tylenol with codeine. That was the one prescription she got, but it was making her feel sick.
It was making her feel sick, so she couldn't take it. So she pretty much just suffered with nothing. And we continued doing what they said, but 2 days into doing the medically unsupervised bandage changes, I thought the wound looked really red and infected. And I called OHSU and I told them this. And once again, they told me that she's fine and don't come back to the hospital. But on April 16th, I took her back anyway to get yet a third opinion from...
Just so a doctor could put physical eyes on her.
Right.
Because the phone opinion, the doctor couldn't actually see whether or not it was infected. And so, I mean, when Corellin went back, she wanted them to actually see what the wound looked like and then make sure that we were doing everything right. Right.
So, and then that third doctor, his name was Dr. Nakamuli, he said once again that she was fine, that we were doing everything fine, and so he sent us home again with that. And so that's kind of what happened on the night of April 12th, 2007. In the next video, we'll talk about, we did end up hiring an attorney, and
we'll talk about that.
And we'll talk about that later because it will kind of get into what we learned down the road through him. But that is what we witnessed that night.
Thank you very much for joining us. And if you have any questions or specific questions, if we can answer them, please let us know in the comments below.
Yes, and we will talk more about what happened after we retained the attorney in our next video. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you.